The Florida Gators, man, they are not expected to do too much this year. They have an over-under win total of 5.5, and a lot of people are shitting on Florida. Many people are laughing at them deciding to pick up Graham Mertz in the transfer portal, and I can understand why people are laughing at Florida. Trust me, I was laughing too when I saw they picked him up. I was like, bro, isn't this the same fool who was starting for Wisconsin, looking like he was holding this offense back? But you know, talking to one of my homies who's a Florida fan, and he's not one of those unrealistic, biased Florida fans that tell you every single year, like, they're going to win the SEC East. He's one of those Florida fans that I really respect his opinion because he's pretty accurate when it comes to talking about Florida Gators football. He has a pretty good understanding of the program. And last year, he told me that they were going to upset Utah, and it actually happened. And he told me that they were going to be like a 6-7 win team and Anthony Richardson was going to be up and down. So he knows the program really well. And he told me that Graham Mertz, you know, he might not be as bad as what a lot of people think. Now, is he going to light the world on fire? Probably not. But Graham Mertz could surprise some people. And when I told him that Florida had an over-under win total of 5.5, he laughed. Like, he might have just went ahead and put a lot of money on that thing. He told me that Florida should at least be a 6-7 win team. And the thing with Graham Mertz that a lot of Florida fans will quickly tell you is that he could be a slight upgrade over Anthony Richardson. And before you say, whoa, chill out. Anthony Richardson, for some odd reason, during his time in Florida, they didn't have an easy time, you know, teaching him the playbook. At least that's what people say. Don't know how true this is, but they say they had to alter the playbook around his strengths. And, you know, it wasn't really great playing within structure. Like, we don't need to get into the Anthony Richardson roller coaster at Florida. You guys pretty much already know what he was. Graham Mertz, he isn't that athletic monster that Anthony Richardson is, but if he can be serviceable, play within structure, make the easy throws, make the layups, something that Anthony Richardson was unable to do consistently, he could have some success. And you remember Bo Nix, when he was at Auburn, he wasn't bad his final season, but he was the definition of mid. And if you would have thought that Bo Nix was going to completely turn his career around from being a mid quarterback at Auburn to becoming a Heisman contender at Oregon, I probably would have laughed at you, and we probably would have laughed together. But it actually happened. Michael Penix, I mean, outside of that one miraculous season that Indiana had when they were actually good, we haven't really heard anything about him until he went up there with Kalen DeBoer in Washington and started going crazy. So Bo Nix and Michael Penix can resurrect their careers. Imagine what Graham Mertz could do this season with Billy Napier. You know, the Paul Chryst days at Wisconsin, he wasn't really known for developing fantastic quarterbacks. Okay, he was more known for smash mouth football and being hard-nosed on front, and I don't think he was the best fit for a guy like Graham Mertz. Billy Napier is a little bit more well-rounded than what Paul Chryst was, at least when it comes to the offensive side of football. Billy Napier had Levi Lewis cooking at Louisiana. He also produced the same offense that had Elijah Moore cooking. So this dude knows offense. I think he's a better offensive mind than what people give him credit for. And Graham Mertz, he has more talent at the wide receiver position than probably what he ever had at Wisconsin. Their wide receiving core, it's not that they're lacking talent. You just have a lot of new faces that haven't really proven much. But I do like Marcus Burke. Part of the reason is because we're a little bit biased because he's from the 904, but we're always going to be a little bit biased from our 904 brethren because we produce dogs and we produce nothing but guys who go ahead and dominate. You have Pretty Ricky Pearsall coming back. I think he could be one of the best wide receivers in the SEC this year. I really like his game. Really fast, really good in space, fantastic after the catch. He kind of gives me a little bit of, I'm not going to say Kadarius Toney. He may not have like the shiftiness that Kadarius Toney has, but I really like his game. He has a little bit of some similarities to Kadarius Toney in a sense. May not be as agile, but I think he kind of has a little bit of the playmaking ability that KT had. And your offensive line, I don't think it's going to be as good as what it was last year, but I still think it should be pretty solid. I don't think it's going to be an issue. And this defense, you know, like, they got Austin Armstrong as their defensive coordinator. He's one of the youngest defensive coordinators in Power 5 for a reason. There were other schools that probably wanted him, and Florida was able to snag him. This defense has underperformed, not because they've been lacking talent, but really because they haven't had any really good defensive coordinators. Their previous DC wasn't good. You remember all those years that Todd Grantham was the defensive coordinator for the Florida Gators under Dan Mullen? Oh my goodness, let's not even talk about that. That kind of makes me want to throw up a little bit talking about Todd Grantham and how Swiss cheese his defense was. So this defense, I definitely expect them to make some gradual jumps in improvement. They got a lot of talent and depth on the defensive line. At cornerback, you got Jason Marshall, who I think should be a first-round pick in next year's draft. And I mean, the biggest strength of this Florida team is their running backs. You got one of the best running back duos in all of college football, and they don't get talked about enough. Everybody be talking about all these running back duos, but nobody talks about Trevor Etienne and Montrell Johnson. This is going to be a team that's not going to be dependent on having a super athletic freak at quarterback to bail you out in big moments. This is going to be a team that, you know, their offense may be pretty boring at times. They may not have a lot of big explosive plays downfield, but it's going to be way more efficient. And if Graham Mertz can be a good game manager, take care of the football, limit mistakes, you know, make, you know, a couple of big throws here and there in the third and fourth quarter, then he can have a pretty successful season for the Florida Gators. Like, I know their schedule is really tough, but I kind of have a hard time seeing this being a team that wins less than 6 games. Like, I just feel they're going to find a way to get to 6 wins. Graham Mertz, you guys got to remember that with the transfer portal era, there's been plenty of quarterbacks that have been crappy, and then they go to a different school and they rejuvenate their careers. Like Hendon Hooker, I didn't know who the hell he was when he was playing for Virginia Tech. I ain't hear of Hendon Hooker until he was going crazy when he was starting for Tennessee. Like, Michigan fans never let you hear the end of it when it comes to Joe Milton. And look what he could possibly do this season. So don't be quick to count out Graham Mertz. You know, the transfer portal, we've seen a lot of some of college football's best quarterbacks come from different schools. I mean, look at who's the quarterback that plays for Utah, Cam Rising. He started out at Texas. And look how good he is for the Utes. And you're facing them in a couple of days. So Graham Mertz, I think he could be a pleasant surprise. Like I said, I don't think he's going to be a Heisman contender or anything like that, but I just think with him getting a fresh start, being in Billy Napier's offense, probably being a little bit of a better fit for Billy Napier's offense than what Anthony Richardson was, I think that maybe he could surprise this year. And Florida could surprise some people as well, because there are people that think that Florida's just going to be a crappy team this year. Like, you telling me you think that Florida's going to have just as bad as a record as what Vanderbilt's going to have? You think they're going to be that low in the SEC East standings this year, that they're going to be on the same tier as Vanderbilt? Man, I don't know. I don't think that low of Billy Napier, but that would be a little crazy if that happens.